Hi guys! I am so excited tonight, and I've already been talking to one of my best friends for like an hour before because we just had so much to catch up on. But you guys, today on It's All Lights podcast, I'm your host Natalie Baugh. Our special guest is Hayley Renshaw.
Hi. I'm so nervous.
Oh man, I love Hayley so much.
I'm
And
so excited to be here, and I love you,
I'm so
Nat.
excited to have you here. So Hayley and I met working at Pupford. This was my first job out of college, and yeah, I think I remember I had said no to another job, and then Hayley started working like a few months after, and I had stayed at Pupford, and I was so grateful I did because Hayley became my best friend, and it was just the best to go and chat with her at work every day, and like, I don't know, it was just a good time. I think we had about a year and a half, 2 years there together. I can't remember the timeline, but anyways.
I started there. Yeah, I started there in April 2021.
Yeah, and then I left about a year, a year later. Anyways, but I've just admired Hayley since day one, huh?
I said lots of good chats.
So many good chats, and playing with Hayley's cute dogs. Are they nearby? If you're watching on YouTube, they're near. It's okay. I'll post a picture of them and you. But she has 2 Yorkie Terriers, Zeus and Chip. And Chip is obsessed with balls. I probably have 100 stories and videos. And if you've known me for a while, you've probably seen them on my stories the past few years. But so Hayley now, she was in Utah, and that's when we worked together. And now she still works at Pupford and is crushing it, partner management, and inspires everyone and connects so well with people, which hint, we might be talking about that in a minute. But Hayley now lives in California and is living her best beach bum life, crushing it, teaching high fit, dancing high fit. And Hayley, tell us just a little bit more about yourself. You're originally from California.
Yes. Yeah, so I grew up in Northern California. I grew up in the Bay Area, and then I moved to Utah. Well, I went to BYU, Idaho for a semester, like fresh out of high school, went to BYU, Idaho, and then I went to Utah State for a couple years. I lived in Logan, and then lived in Utah County forever. So yeah, I was in Utah for the last like 12 years, and then I moved to Orange County last July.
Fun.
So it's it will almost be a year coming up, but I'm certified in high fitness. Natalie already covered the things, but my 2 dogs are basically my life.
The best.
And the biggest thing I miss about Utah is my family and my friends, and my nieces and nephews.
Charlie.
I love being an aunt.
I know them all.
Natalie's met all of them when they would come into the office. But I don't miss the snow. So I don't know. And I live 15 minutes from the beach. So I'm like,
so nice.
You can't beat that.
I'm counting down the days. I'm going to visit her in March. So pumped up for that.
Yes.
But
visit me with Disney.
Also in your bio, you said you love pizza. Do you like thin crust or thick crust?
I'm really not picky. I think I probably prefer thick crust. But honestly, I'm like, I will eat Little Caesars. I will eat Domino's. I will eat
pizza's great. Oh, we used to get Costco pizza together. We would do Costco runs at work. Oh man, so many good memories.
I don't discriminate against
so many good memories.
Type of pizza,
well, I hope I can convey how much I admire Hayley throughout this podcast. Just from her life experiences, her life wisdom. She's like the best listener. She's heard almost every problem I've ever had in my life from our chats. And then at like 2 or 3 p.m., we would do a high fit song and just dance at work. And it was my favorite and it helped so much. And honestly, dancing just like makes your day so much better. I watched a TED Talk on it actually. So a lot of my coworkers at the place I work now are like super into work. It's like a more dance workout. I haven't tried it. I probably would die, but they like sent a TED Talk about this guy, and he was like talking about how beneficial dancing is for your life. And he like made everyone in the crowd dance, and I was just like watching it at work, like kind of dancing, like, oh, this is awesome. Like, Anyways, my goal is to dance more.
Yeah.
I want to dance like every day. Just put on my headphones and just
I love that.
groove.
I know, and I feel like even because 'cause I'm like, I don't consider myself like a dancer, but I'm like, even to just like when music comes on, it's like
Just
everybody, you
move.
can
Yeah.
move your
Even if
body,
it's just your head.
like can yeah. It's like or like tapping your foot, whatever it is. It's like,
Totally.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's just fun to get up and move and
So,
stuff.
Hayley, tell us what you're passionate about. Give us an overview and then we'll dive deep.
Yes. So honestly, I've like never really liked this
Mm,
question because for me, I feel like there's not necessarily like a tangible thing that I'm passionate about. Like I could say I'm passionate about my dogs, but I'm not like passionate about, I don't know, cooking or I'm not passionate about baking or I'm not, like the typical things where I
traveling.
feel like it's like, yeah, yeah, where it's like these hands on things. And for me, I feel like I finally was like, that's okay if there's not something like that I'm passionate about, but it's like the things that I am passionate about are like helping other people or listening to other people's like stories and getting to know people and yes, I'm passionate about my dogs like and so I think for me it's like I just love to get to know people and I love building relationships. I just getting to know people and understanding their background, what makes them them,
Yeah.
their trials, their and so I think that's something that people should be like that more people I feel like should accept that it's like, okay, I'm not passionate about hiking. I could pretend that I'm passionate about hiking or I could pretend like you don't have but you don't have to fake it. Like just be like what I'm passionate about is helping people and getting to know
Hmm.
people and that's okay. And that's what I'm good
Yeah.
at. And
Mm,
and that can really be anything, for
I
anybody.
love that.
So
We had a discussion at work kind of
yeah.
about passion too, and just kind of the misconception of oh, this is your passion. You're passionate about skiing and skiing is your life or whatever, but it's like passions,
Yeah.
like you can be passionate about so many things, but like at different points in your life your energy is focused on different things, and it doesn't take away from all
Yes.
your
Yeah.
other passions or hobbies, but like
Yeah.
passion can direct your life, but it doesn't need to be the driving force. I feel like so many passions can push you and drive you, like you're working in partner management and affiliates and you're so good at that and you're using your natural talents and you're passionate about it so it
Yeah.
works and it's helpful. But
Yeah.
at the same time,
Yeah.
like, yeah, you can still love so many other things and live that as well. So I love that you brought all those up.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, as
Yeah.
I tried to introduce you, like, you really are so good at listening and connecting. You would always pull up some like Brene Brown quote or hand me a little sticker for my water bottle, my water bottles. But tell us, like, where do you think this stemmed from? Have you always been like that since you were little?
Um, I feel like when I was really young, like in elementary school, I remember being a lot more like shy and like pretty reserved. But I feel like once I got to like high school, I definitely was like all about the social
Mm-hmm.
aspect. Like loved meeting new people, loved like had, my group of friends and just played sports and so I'd meet people that way. Um and I don't know, I was terrible at school, like, I could care less about academics, so I'm, like hence the reason why I went to BYU Idaho. No shame for BYU
That's
BYU Idaho
awesome.
people. I'm all like, everybody knows, it's like
My
anyways,
boyfriend went to
but
BYU Idaho. Shout out to
he
Sam.
goes to Idaho,
No, it's a great
hey,
school. It
no
really
shame.
is.
It really is. I know, I'm just saying that because like, everybody else in my family went to BYU, and so it's
Right.
like yeah. Anyways, but that's all just to say that I feel like yeah, probably in high school, was I feel like I just kind of like found myself a little bit
Mhm.
more and then just loved getting to know people and then I think um just the things that I've gone through in the last like 10 years of my
Mhm.
life have definitely like opened up a whole new perspective and like view on people.
Mhm.
Um And yeah, also for myself, just feeling like everybody goes through different things, and sometimes people don't people are afraid to like talk about it or share their stories. But then I feel like if nobody ever talked about the hard things that they like go through or have gone through, we would all just be like living
stuck.
this life where it's like we, are hiding, hiding these things that we're going through because we're like too afraid or too embarrassed to
Mm-hmm.
share them. Um, and I like definitely
Oh
have
yeah,
been there, and
me
so
too.
I think, uh, yeah, I think I can't remember the exact quote, but there's like some quote where it's like you can't basically like you can't heal in the
Mm.
darkness. Like
Shed light on it.
you have to yeah, you have to
Mm-hmm.
shed light on it. And I also think that means like having other people support you and
Mm-hmm.
gather around you and help you when you are in that really dark place or going through those really
Yeah.
hard things. Um, so yeah, I think that's probably why.
Yeah.
I don't know if you want me to share like more specifics of my
Yeah,
story
no,
or
I do
whatever,
I do
but
want to dive into that. I have a quick thought though before we jump there, but
yeah,
I was just thinking like so many of our experiences, I feel like 80% of the time is to help other people and 20% is to help us learn. And it's probably more 60/40 cuz I learned so much from my trials and things I go through. So Haley knows this. She was the
yeah,
first to find out when I got fired from my job. Went into our office crying. It was traumatizing, but fine. I'm so grateful she was there to hug me and support me. But anyway, so like months later, like I'm fine. I'm doing great. You know, it taught me a lot. I am so grateful for everything. But like I met this girl and she was like, "Oh yeah, I just got like laid off from my job." And I just like give her a hug. I was like, "Girl, I know how you feel." Like I've been there. And it's just
yeah,
such a connecting moment when you really have gone through what someone else is going through. And so it's like I'm grateful
yeah,
now that like and it's also reassuring to know that, like, yeah, it happens. People get laid off, especially right now. Our economy is just crazy and it's hard. And I know multiple people, and
yeah,
my heart goes out to all of you. But like there's always a
yeah.
place for you to be. And like, it's always, I feel like just God is in the details. But I love that.
Hmm.
So with, oh, go ahead.
I on that. I feel like when you're going through it and when you're in it, like it's okay to feel
Mm-hmm.
sad and feel like how the heck am I
Oh,
gonna get
yeah.
out of this? But I hindsight is always 20/20 or whatever they say,
Mm-hmm.
that it's like you can always look back and be like, "Oh, I for sure learned from that." But I love what you said, that it's like, yeah, a lot of our experiences that we go through, I think are for sure to help other
Yeah.
people, and that's why we need each other because we all
No,
go through hard stuff.
100%. I feel like, I
So,
mean, life is meant to be with people. I feel like so much of my job, we kind of talk about like, yeah, there's the what and the why, but it's like more importantly is like the who. Like, yeah, you can go out and do these
mhm,
things. You can go out and hike a mountain, but it's like, who are you hiking that mountain with? You know? I also looked
yeah,
at my journal tonight, just flipping through some old pages, and I found like just a line, and it was like, "Can't believe I've been jobless for so long," and just like it'd been like a few months, and I was like, "Well, that's life." Like by that point, I was just kind of like,
yeah,
"Whatever, it's gonna happen." It's like a few
yeah,
pages later was like, "Oh
yep,
yeah, job offer." You know, like things always change, and they can change like in a blink of an eye. But
yep,
I love people too. I mean, that's why I have this podcast. I love talking to people. So I can relate to
yeah,
your passion for learning about people and their stories. And I was trying to think
mhm,
about like that intrigue for me. Some of it like with my extrovertedness can be selfish in the sense that I like attention and I like to share and talk about myself.
mhm,
But as I've like tried to mature into that, it's more of like, oh no, I really am interested in who this person is just because I can either learn from them or just give them an opportunity to share because when people share, they grow. But what would you say
yeah.
your kind of motivation for this is?
Um, yeah, that's a good question. I think what you said, I think a lot of the times I kind of joke because now I feel like I'm very much an oversharer. Like, I'll meet in like the first 5 minutes, I'm just kinda like, "Oh, here's my whole life story," like, kind of word vomiting, and I know that some people are probably like, "Okay, this lady's crazy, like, this is too much." But also, I've had instances where it's like, I've shared, shared experiences or told, my whole life story and my journey, and people are like, "Oh my gosh, I'm going through that right
Yeah.
now," or like and so I think for me, it's about, like I feel like I've finally gotten to a place with like my life and my story and my circumstances and everything where it's like I just want to be like my true authentic
Yeah.
self, and hopefully by doing that helps other people feel like they can do the same, or that maybe they don't feel like they have someone that they can open
Mhm.
up with about certain
Yeah.
topics, or um, and so maybe I can,
Safe
be
space
that
for them.
be that yeah, be that person for them. And I also just I genuinely love to just learn about people and like their upbringing and their families and where they, where were they born, what kind of makes them them, because I don't know, that's just so much more interesting to me instead of
Mhm.
like, let's talk about the weather, let's talk about,
Yeah. Getting past
or
the
it's like
surface.
I don't yeah. So yeah, I think just getting past that
Yeah.
surface level
Well,
conversations can make
and
a big
something I've learned too is that, like, even if you connect with someone that you'll never see again, like, it still has a lasting impact. I had to learn that on my mission because majority of the people I never saw again, or they ghosted us. And I just have to remember, well, hopefully they remember one thing I told them, or even smiling.
yeah.
Like, there was this one time I was on this huge metro. It was like the longest escalator in the subway in Russia. And I was just going down, this girl was coming up and she had this big curly hair, and my hair was crazy and curly too. And we just kind of looked at each other and smiled. Like, we bonded over our curly hair. And I was like, I like still will never forget just that tiny little moment. So I think this is such a
Yeah.
powerful concept that people can have into their lives. My other thought was, the more we're focusing on learning about others, the easier our problems just kind of disappear.
Yeah. That's true too. I think not to ever like compare, trials or things that people are going to, but I also think it's interesting that when people share things that they're going through, it could be something way worse than
Mhm.
maybe we're going through personally. And so I think it just gives you perspective on life and things that maybe you never even, thought about, or you're like, "Oh my gosh, I could never imagine
Yeah,
going through that." And so just when other people, kind of share their stories or share, their trials and their life journey, it for sure gives a new
yeah.
perspective. One thing that I was thinking about too when you were talking about like leaving a um like an impression, I feel like my mom has always been a really good example to me, and maybe like I think that's definitely a lot of where I get like probably my outgoingness,
Mhm.
because my mom always does like she just makes everybody feel like they're her best friend, and she will like make you cookies, she sends birthday cards to
Mhm.
everybody, like she just, and there's been I don't know, I feel like there's so many people that she's touched their
Mhm.
lives, and it's like, whether they've moved away or, whatever it might be, it's like she still, keeps in contact
Yeah.
with them, or when it was her birthday or something, people would be like, "Your mom is just the
Yeah.
best, most thoughtful," whatever. So,
I'm lucky
um,
I got to meet her, and that's true.
shout out to genetics, I guess, and shout out to my mom. So,
Yeah. Oh, I
but
love that. I think that's so important. As you were even saying that, I was thinking about times where you and I had conversations, and you would share about your life and I would share about mine, and I would be like, I feel so stupid because like my problem's so small compared to what you were going through. I'm like, some boy broke my heart and you're like, my
my
life
goodness,
is this, and I'm like, oh my gosh, your life is so hard, and I'm like, she's taking the time to help my small little problems. Like, it really meant so much because I knew what you were going through. And
yeah,
yeah, it's bonding no matter how big or small your trials
yeah,
are, but
yeah,
yeah.
exactly.
So, if you're comfortable, tell us a little bit about your journey.
Yeah, I already told you, I'm like, I'm more than happy to share, and yeah, I think it's a topic that's not talked about
And I
enough.
think this could help. That's why I'm
Um,
asking you to share, because I hope someone listening will
yeah,
benefit from this.
yeah, yeah, I hope so too, even though I'm, like,
Oh, you got
nervous,
thank
but,
you.
um, no, it's fine. I'm like, yeah, I have no problem, like, telling a complete stranger my whole story, but I'm, like, saying it, like, publicly out loud or whatever, but I also think that's important too, like, just saying things out loud, it
Totally.
helps you, work through stuff. So, yeah, so I grew up Mormon, LDS, went off to BYU, Idaho, met this guy, got married when I was 20, got married in the temple, did our whole thing. Like, I'm like, okay, this is my happily ever after, whatever. Um, and ended up getting divorced. I won't, it was a very unhealthy relationship. And also, I think another reason why I've become so passionate about like talking about your problems, talking about your things, because during that time of my life, I did not. I was like, I didn't know what to do. I didn't know that who to
Mhm.
go to like talk about what was going on. I don't know. I didn't know what to do, and I started getting like really bad anxiety, and I started having really bad like
Mhm.
panic attacks. And so I would like have these panic attacks and was suffering with this anxiety, which I'd never dealt with before. And so it was like all these things, and I just felt like I was suffering in silence, just like by myself. And finally, I like opened up to a couple of friends. You know, obviously, eventually opened up to like my family, and everybody was like so
Mhm.
supportive and so like just willing to like be there and help me and do whatever, whatever I
Yeah.
needed. And I was so appreciative of that. And yeah, so again, I think that just goes to show too that it's like there's literally when you like don't talk about stuff and when you like keep all that stuff inside you, it's going to come out eventually.
Mhm.
Like your body doesn't know how to process it.
Totally.
Um, and so yeah, so that happened. Yeah, long story short, we ended up getting divorced. Um, And then pretty soon after that, like I had been going to therapy. I was like on anxiety and depression, like
Mhm.
medication. And I kind of felt like, you know, I'm out of that relationship. Things are good. Like I'm doing good. I'm whatever. And I met this guy, swept me off my feet, like whatever. And I definitely like was very vulnerable. And looking back now, obviously, I can, you look back and you can be like, okay, there were red flags or there were things that I should have paid attention to. But also, one thing I have to like remind myself is like, you're just doing the best you
Amen.
can in every situation. So you can look back and you can beat
Mhm.
yourself up. But at the end of the day, when you were in that situation and when you were in
That's
that
what you
moment,
knew.
like you were doing the best. That's what you
Mhm.
knew. You were doing the best that
Totally.
and you were, doing the best you could with the
Yeah.
tools that you had. So, anyways, fell in love, like I said, swept me off my feet. Like we were like it was like best
Mhm.
friends, we were inseparable, just like I'm like, this is it. Like you know, this is the answer to, to my prayers, to my mom's
How
prayers.
long
Like,
was it so your first marriage, how long was that? Mine
so it was almost
okay.
5
And then that
years.
ended, and then how soon after did you meet this other guy?
Yeah, so I got married in 2011 and then we got divorced like end of
Okay, so
2015, him in like 2016. So it was like really soon after. Um was it 2016 or
like
2017?
a
I now
year,
I
give
don't
or
even.
take a year or 2.
Yeah. Yeah. And so, well no, not even from the time that I had met him, it was from the time that I had gotten divorced, the time that I met my new husband, it was like less than a year. So it was really fast. Um but again, I was like, I know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
I got this. And he was just, oh. And so we ended up just going to the courthouse and getting married. So we got married in 2017. So I met him in like 2016, I think. I don't remember. But we got married. We bought a house together. We got our dogs together. Like we bought our house. We got Zeus shortly after, and then got Chip like during COVID. And I was just like, this is it. Like this is, this is the love of my life. This is, whatever. Obviously there were things that happened and situations like, from the beginning of our marriage that it wasn't always like super easy, but I was also I think I also had the like state of mind where I was like, I'm going to make this work no matter what, because I'm like, I'm not getting divorced again. And so, so then without sharing like too many details, that relationship ended. We separated in like June of 2021. Yeah, and Natalie was there for me for like through literally all of this, I remember. And then our divorce was like
a few months later.
Our divorce was officially like official in March of 2022, so last year. But I like moved out of the
Before
house
then, yeah.
that we had. Before that, like in January of last year, I moved out. I moved out. I moved in with my angel friends in their basement. So it was like kind of a long time coming. But again, like through all this, I'm like processing and trying to figure out like, do I really want to get divorced again? Like, do I really want to go through that? And like, I really did like love and care about him. And like, we were so, we had this whole life together. We had our house together. We had our dogs, and it was just like give all this up and I'm gonna, but I finally feel like my realization and like the turning point for me was like, do I really feel like I can move forward in this relationship and in this marriage and like have kids with him, which is like, what I thought I always wanted and thought would happen, years
Oh yeah, that's the culture you grew up in, right?
And so but ultimately I was like, no, I can't do it. Like I deserve better than this. I've been disrespected way too many times and like I'm not going to bring a kid into this. And there was, even though during this relationship, I was a lot more open about the struggles that I was going to. I was actively going to therapy, like pretty, consistently throughout our marriage. I went to a group therapy that I think I
totally
about Natalie, other women, and that I feel like was huge.
the
Again, talking
connecting.
about like, connecting and bonding over like, hard things, like that for sure was a game changer for me, and I highly recommend it to everybody. But so finally decided like, okay, I'm gonna be divorced 2
Take the
times,
reins of your life, though.
but
You did it.
but like I'm gonna, I something that I always like say to people and people that have been going through divorces or whatever it might be, it's like there's always gonna be something hard. There's always gonna be a decision that's hard. So you could choose to stay. I could have chosen to stay in that marriage, and it would have been so hard, like
To make
really
it work,
hard. Or I could choose
another hard
to
decision.
be another really hard decision and go through a divorce again, which is not easy, and go through that whole process. And
But what are the
and that
outcomes,
would be
right?
painful. Yeah, exactly. But at least with that choice, it was like there was a light at the
It
end of the
wasn't
tunnel,
painful
and I
forever.
knew.
Mm.
Yes, yeah. And so that's something that I think when people are like going through hard things, it's kind of like, okay, either way, it's going to be hard. Like when you are, when you're looking at two different
But
decisions,
which
like either and it's gonna be hard, but which
leads to more
one.
hope, I guess, right? Which one has a little
Yeah,
bit more light?
yeah,
That's helpful for me,
yeah.
because you know me, I can't make a decision to save my life. I always say that, but guys, one of these days I'm gonna have a podcast or I'm gonna have an episode and I'm gonna be like, I'm the most decisive person in the world. Here's my journey.
No, I
No, but
yeah.
yeah,
No, it's hard.
no,
Decisions are hard
so
no
hard,
matter if it's a small thing or
right?
something big,
But yeah,
but,
hope. I like that.
um, yeah. So I think just, yeah, finding, like, where the light at the end of the tunnel is or where do you feel hope, and so, um, ever since then, that was part of the reason I moved was I was like, "I just feel like I
New,
need a
yeah.
fresh start. I just need to, like, I don't know, just be on my own and
Yeah,
kind of
go
find
rediscover.
myself."
I mean, you already are so
And
sure of yourself. That's something I've always admired about you. But okay, keep going.
oh, no, I don't I'm like, "I don't know about that." That's very nice of you to say, but, um, yeah, I just it's been so refreshing for me because I spent all of my 20s being
Mm,
married. I think I've said this to you before. It's like I literally was married all of my 20s, and so now I feel like I'm in my 30s and I'm trying to, like,
you're single and
rediscover
living.
myself, like you said. Yeah, and just be authentic to what I wanna do and who I
Hmm.
am, and, yeah, it's just been really freeing, and I just feel like I'm happier than I've
I
ever
love it. You
been,
do seem happy.
and yeah, and I think it just goes to show that it's like, I don't know. There's so many things in society that it's like you have to be with somebody else to be happy, or, marriage is
And
like the
children
end
and
all be all.
families,
Like, yes,
which
and
is
kids
still
and all this stuff.
wonderful
And it's
for
like,
everyone out there. And
yes,
I love it.
yes, exactly. Yeah, which I like admire those people so much. But for me, it's like, well, what if that's not your journey? And what if that's not your
Hmm.
story? Like, you have to figure out how to be happy on your own, and you have to figure out how to find that happiness within yourself. And like anybody that comes into my life now, it's like, you better believe they're only adding to it. Like, they're not going to take away from it, and I'm not going to rely on them for my happiness, but it's like they're going to just
Hmm.
add
And like
to it.
we have the
So,
power to choose who we spend our time with. I mean, sometimes you can't choose
yep.
your coworkers necessarily, but like luckily I've been so blessed with the
Yeah.
best coworkers ever. But shout out to Jeff and Abby and everyone I work with now. But it's true. The more I feel like the older I get, the more I'm like, oh, I can do whatever I want with my life. Like I've always wanted to go live in
Mhm.
DC. Right now it's hard because my job is here and I love my job. So it's like, okay, somehow. But my friend was like, you really could just pack up and move there tomorrow if you wanted. I'm like, oh my gosh, you're right. I could. I mean, I won't because there's so much that goes into it and my
Yeah.
decision making probably won't let
Yeah.
me. But it's just cool.
One
It's
day.
just cool that you can really take charge, and I think the more self-aware you are, the more you can realize who's filling your cup. But like you said,
Mhm.
we create our own happiness and then other people can just help uplift us and then we can help pour our cup out to other people. I had one more
Yep.
thought as you were talking. It might
I
Yeah, go
I was
ahead.
gonna say
Yeah, no, I
something
can't
if
remember.
you think of it. I was just gonna say, kind of going back to like what we talked about, where our experiences are to help
Mhm.
other people. It's been like when I went through my first
Mhm.
divorce, the like again, my perspective was completely changed, and I felt on divorce and
Mhm.
just
That
that
situation,
whole
yeah.
topic in general. But then the amount of people that I feel like I met in my life who were going
Yeah.
through that, same situation or had gone through that, and and they've been remarried, it was like all of these people started to come into my life where it was like, oh my gosh, like they, they were meant to be in my life at that
Mhm.
certain time. And then with going through my second divorce, and even since I've moved out to California, the amount of people that I've met, like LDS or not LDS, just like in general, the amount of people that are like, oh yeah, I'm going through a divorce right now
Yeah.
or whatever. It's like, it's just been mind blowing where it's like, okay, this is why I've gone through this,
Mhm.
like, is to help other
As
people. And
painful
so,
as it all is, right?
yeah, yeah. And I think back to my life where I'm like, like I said, with my first divorce, or, different situations of my life where it's like I would not have gotten through what I went through if it weren't for the people in my life, if it wasn't for my friends and my family and that support system. And that's why it's so important to to be open about what we're going
Mm-hmm.
through, because people want to
Yeah.
help you, and they genuinely care about you. And when you find like those people,
Yeah.
you know, like on to them and like rely on them for help, because we
Mm-hmm.
can't get through
It's
our
so
stuff by
true.
ourselves.
I
So
will mention though, as I've explored
yeah,
this and talked to other people though, as you start to open up and share, like you can say little things at first to see if it's like reciprocated. So then you know if it's like a safe
yeah,
person to talk to in a way.
yeah,
I'm an open book just like you though too, and I'm willing to share my whole life story with everybody and all my issues. Literally everyone's
yeah.
like, how are you? And I'm like, oh, this and this and this is going on, and this and stuff. I'm good.
But I've always loved that about you too, because it's like you're just real. Like, I hate when I ask, I'm like, "How are you doing?" It's like, "Yeah, I wanna
Like, really,
know,
how are
like,
you?
that you're having."
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like, I genuinely mean that. Like, I don't need you to just be like, "Oh, I'm
Yeah,
fine," you
there's
know?
definitely ways you can
So, I
test the
think
water,
that's
and maybe that is a surface level question at first, but like even so I have this dating coach who's been on the podcast. We had a coaching call and she was just like, the biggest thing in dating is just to be yourself, like be so open and honest and make it as real as you can. I mean, I think we're all so scared of
yeah.
reality, me being the leader of the pack. Like I don't know why I hate reality so much. It's kind of annoying and it's starting to bother me that I'm like, "Oh, that's reality?" Okay, like tap into reality. But like
Yeah,
opening
yeah.
up, having those conversations can connect you, and it just is amazing what real feels like. It's in the present. It's
Mhm.
so good. um Before I forget,
Yeah.
my other thought came back. We had Sherry Dew come to like a multi-stake fireside. Do you know who she is? So she's
Uh-huh. Oh, yeah.
69, never been married. She's worked with the church, like
Yeah.
CEO of Desert Book. She's like a phenomenal lady. But it was so cool
Yeah.
how real she was. Like talking to us, like she was like, "Yeah, I was 30. I was dating this boy. We were talking about marriage. Man, probably a man." Talking about marriage, and she's like, we were
Girl.
both like, "Okay, we'll fast and pray and see if it's like a good fit." He came back and was like, "Okay, I've been dating this other girl too, her friend." And he's like, "And we've decided we're gonna get married." So she's heartbroken at 30. This guy she thought she was gonna marry. Like she's gone through so much, like all the 20s of being single, it's a good time. Um, our stories are flipped. Like I've gone through this and we'll see what my 30s turn into. But anyways, so this happened to her and she was just like angry at God and like, why would this is so unfair? And like, and then fast forward many, many, many years later, she's like, "You better believe the first question I'm gonna ask is why haven't I had an eternal companion?" And like that still bothers her, and like
Yeah.
she's okay with that. Like she's okay that with that question bothering her, and she's okay not knowing that. But like she has
Yeah.
influenced thousands of people all over the world through this experience. So like I'm betting part of the reason is because of this influence to help other single women, but also just like
Yeah.
in a spiritual sense. I'm getting really spiritual here for a second, but like God will not deny her of that blessing. Like, and she knows that. Like she knows everything will work out, but like it's okay to still
Yeah.
be bugged if things aren't going how you planned. That's part of life, and like being real is being like, yeah, I'm bugged and that's okay. And it's just being okay with like the discomfort, right? That's kind of like the ice baths and everything else everyone's doing. It's like being okay with discomfort
Yep.
and
Yeah.
reality.
I love that.
The ice
True.
baths bring
Yeah.
me to reality like that. Really? Oh
Every
my gosh,
time.
you need to try it. I stopped. I did it a bunch last week and I stopped because it got so cold here. It was like 11 degrees this morning. So I was like, I'll wait a minute. But it
Yeah.
really, I mean, your mind can't really go anywhere else because your body's freezing. So it brings you to the present. And
Yeah.
there's studies and boost your dopamine and all sorts of stuff. But
Mhm.
I just love that, like, through these trials, like you have been just like so steady. Like, yeah, it's like a rocky boat, but like you're still there. You're not falling off. You're like true to who you are. And like you've discovered like
Yeah.
what's best for you. And like you said, you're still like, you know what you love. You know what makes you happy. You eat healthy, you drink your water. You're just like, you love your dogs, and I love your dogs. And I think that's a great example, especially to people going through struggles, like big or small. Like there's always a light at the end of the tunnel. It's so helpful to learn about other struggles, because then we can either share, oh yeah, I've struggled with that too, or just listen. And you kind of mentioned why others should know about this is just common humanity and connecting and healing. I think you also touched on this point. I think people don't realize that when they opening up heals. And like you said, even just saying the words out loud heal. The dating coach sent me this breakup ritual thing, and I was reading it to my producer George before this, just because it's interesting. And it's literally a ritual. You go and like gather items and you create like a circle, and then you just get it all out, and you assign memories and things to objects, and then you like let it flow in the river, and then you burn it. And I'm like, whoa. And he's like, she sounds like a witch. Okay, sorry. I might need to cut that out too. Oh my gosh. My heck, this episode. I'm sorry. Unfiltered. No, but it's like a fun little ritual. Oh my gosh.
No.
It's also like 11:35 p.m. Anyways, but we heal from sharing. We heal from just getting it out of our systems. That's why I love journaling. I've been meditating more, and you really like inhale calm, exhale peace, and like really take it in and let your body be powerful. But I love the quote that you shared. You said, I've learned that people will forget what you said, people will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel. That's by Maya Angelou. I think I said her name right. Yeah. Angela. Why do you love that quote?
It just resonates with me a lot, because I'm like, I don't feel like I'm the smartest tool in the shed. I'm like, and sometimes when I do talk, I'm like, maybe I'm not always making sense, or like, I don't know, people might not remember what I'm saying to them, or maybe I'm oversharing way too much, and they're like, okay, this lady is like way out there, I don't care about her whole life story. But at the end of the day, I think people, they remember how you make them feel, and I remember how people make me feel. And like you said, even with that girl in Ukraine with the curly hair, it's like, even the eye contact and like the smile at someone, it's like you both felt something, and you both like felt that connection. And so I think whether it's like smiling at someone on the street, or waving, at the car when they let you go in, like, or just those little things like that, it's like there's so many hard things in the world, and everybody's going through something hard, whether they talk about it or not. And it's like, we just need to be kind to each other. And like, you never know what somebody is going through in that, like that certain day. And like, I don't know, you could say something that it could totally set them off, or you could say, you could say something nice to them or smile at them, and it can totally turn around their whole day.
Smiles go a long way. Okay. And you think what?
Yes.
Sorry, keep going. You think that? Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh no, it's okay.
I butt in way too much because I get so excited.
No, it's I don't know. I think there's the energy and the vibes that people give off, whether they say something or not. It's like, you can feel that, and you can feel, when someone walks in the room and they light up the room. Like, I feel like that's how you are, Nat. Like, you smile and you're just happy and have this fun curly hair, and it's just like, you're just fun to be around, and you make people, feel happy. And so, and it's not always about like being the smartest person or the most knowledgeable or whatever, but if you're just a nice person and can make people feel good about themselves, like,
yeah, I always think about like people who've made me feel good about myself, and like, what did they do and how can I emulate that? Like, I work in the temple, and there's like certain, like when I've gone as a patron, there's certain people that like act or do a certain way, or like are just so smiley or make eye contact, and it's like, oh, okay, I'm gonna try that. Or like my coworker, everyone loves her, and she's always just like so invested in people's lives and just like so caring. I'm like, okay, like trying to like take notes of all these little things. I was also gonna share once my car got towed. Man, I don't even know how many times that has happened. But yeah, I finally went and got my car back from wherever they had taken it. And then I was like, you know what? I've already spent so much money paying to get my car out. I'm going to go pay the fanciest car wash to get my car washed. So as I was like turning to the car wash, there was this like little Asian man in his car. And he like literally looked at me and just smiled. And I was like, whoa. And I was like, that just like warmed my heart. I'm like, it's like he knew that I just had the worst day getting my car done. Like it was just like the smallest thing, and I'll never forget that cute little smile.
Yeah.
So yeah, just reminder to smile. I love that you brought that up. It really goes a long way.
Yeah, it doesn't. Yeah, you don't always have to say something. It can just be a gesture, a wave, or smile. So the simple things.
So think of a takeaway from everything we've talked about that people can take with them, and maybe in your form you said, and this is just general great takeaway: be kind, be vulnerable, find your people, do you, and tell people you love them. What else would you add?
Yes, that's what I would say.
Go
me. No, I think that kind of sums it all up. Like, I think it all, like, it depends on, I'm not saying like go out and post your Facebook status and tell the whole world your whole life story. Like, if you want to do that, more power to you. Like, you can do that. But I think just if there's ever an opportunity that comes up and you feel comfortable, sharing your story, or I don't know, just don't be afraid to be vulnerable. Just in general, like, that's Brené Brown. That's like her whole thing. I love all of her books. I love all the self-help books. But just that's when we grow. That's when we connect. That's where the change happens inside ourselves and for other people. And I think do you. That's I kind of been my like life motto, not life motto, but for sure for the last like year, it's just like I'm gonna do whatever I want to do
and let it be.
Don't and let it be, yes, and don't worry about what other people think, or like the judgment from other people, because someone's always gonna have something to say, someone's always gonna have an opinion about you, but you can't live in that. Like, you have to live your life and do what you're gonna do. So
I think my biggest takeaway I've learned from you and our discussion today is probably, we've talked about so much. I'm trying to think of those like aha moments where it's like, oh yeah, that's so great. I'd probably say just asking more people about what matters to them and what is their journey and what that looks like for them and how it's affected their lives. Like, meet someone. Like, my latest question's been like, oh, what's an aspiration you have for 2023? Because then you can start to dive into, oh, who is this person? Oh, why did you choose that? Like, start getting deeper off the get-go. And I think that's my takeaway. And just being real. Hayley, you are so real. And I'm so, so grateful for today's episode. Everybody
thanks for having
spread the light. Oh, keep going.
I just came from the gym.
Oh yeah, me too.
No, I was from the gym. Look at us taking care of our physical and mental health.
I literally go there and I like try to do a workout, and then I like drop them, and then I just laugh at myself, and I'm like, I don't know how loud I'm laughing because my headphones are so loud. It's a good time. I've learned to I really just don't care.
Yeah. Life's too short to care what other people think. So.
Well, thank you so much.
You're the best at that. Thanks for having me.
And my I gotta remember to say my tagline: spread the light and light the passion. And tune in next week, everybody. You can find Hayley on her socials. I'll post them. And again, I love you so much, Hayley, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye, everyone.
Thank you.